The only mind-blowing thing about this video is just how dumb Ken Ham is. That shocks me every single time I watch one of his videos because I don't want to accept that any human being can be this clueless, but clearly he is. How he continues to exist without drooling, I will never know. Maybe he'll do that by the end of this video, I have no clue. Let's go find out. This is going to blow your mind, or at least that's what Ken Ham thinks. Instead, it's just going to make him look like the sad, pathetic, brain-addled moron that he actually is, and I don't think that's going to come as much of a surprise. So, can he prove that there was a six-day creation? Of course not, but how badly he fails will probably surprise even you. Or not. I mean, this is Ken Ham we're talking about. Let's see.
Could God really have created everything in 6 days?
Well, if you're going to just assume an omniproperty God, and I'm just playing along here, then why the hell did it take him 6 days? Why couldn't it have been done instantly? I mean, what took him so long? Because this is yet another problem with the religious who can't look back realistically. Ancient people, they were just trying to make their gods souped up versions of humans. Well, if I can build a hut in 6 days, why couldn't a god do the same thing for everything? Why not indeed? A god who can do anything, though, they shouldn't need 6 days or 6 seconds to do whatever it is they're going to do, right? So let's see why Ken is so impressed with this. Because I know I'm not.
You know, when people ask me that, and they say, could God have done it in 6 days? The first thing I say is, it's really not a matter of what God could have done. It's really a matter of what God said he did. And that's the point.
No, the point is that you are so credulous that you buy into these ancient stories in the first place. Because you run into a whole lot of logical hurdles that you're just ignoring. First, you believe in a God in the first place. Go ahead and prove that's real. Good luck, because you're going to need it. Secondly, you accept the stories that God influenced the writers of the Bible in some way. Again, since you can't do the first one, there's no way in hell that you can do the second. Even if you could do all of that, you're just assuming that God was telling the truth. Why would you think that? Because I, as a skeptic, am going to expect you to back up every single part of that, and we all know that you can't do it. I don't give a damn about your faith. I don't give a shit about your fee-fees. I care only about your demonstrable facts, the things that you can back up in a way that I can objectively evaluate it without having to believe in it first. And sadly, you don't have any of that, do you? How you think I won't be able to deny this stuff since I'm not coming at it with your ridiculous preconceptions first? I have no idea.
You see, the Bible is God's word, and God has written down for us about the creation.
Says you. I don't accept that. I have no reason to accept that. I don't accept that any gods exist at all until you can provide evidence that they do. And you have to remember that the title of his video is, You Cannot Deny the 6-Day Creation Once You Realize This, with some random capitalization thrown in there because Ken Ham is an idiot. Well, of course I can. I just don't accept your preconceptions. I don't accept your unsupported claims. I don't accept your faith. If you're going to require all of those things before I can possibly take anything you say seriously, then you are in serious trouble. Maybe that's why you disabled ratings on your videos, because you knew that you were going to get your ass handed to you. But yeah, go ahead, Ken, make some more completely unsupported assertions. It'll just make us laugh at you, because you're an idiot.
He's given us the creation account. And as you read through Genesis 1, if you just take it at face value, it certainly seems like God is saying that he created everything in 6 days.
And why would we do that? That's positively stupid. It's like saying, well, if you read the Harry Potter books at face value, then it's clear that there's a magical wizarding school called Hogwarts. Except nobody in their right mind would accept that, and I think it's clear that Ken isn't going to try to defend any of his bald assertions rationally. Because he doesn't care. None of these people do. Now, I just finished recording the video where Eric Manning over at Testify was making all kinds of empty claims about the Bible, just to give you some context on how long these things take to get out to your eyes. And he doesn't care either. None of them do. I'm just calling bullshit on Ken, not that he cares, because none of them do. He just really wants to believe, and that's really, really dumb.
But are they literal days? Well, the Hebrew word for day is the word yom. Now, people will say, well, yom can have different meanings. That's true.
And I was going to say that, but he just beat me to it. 2 points for house clueless moron, I guess. I've had theists tell me that it could only have been literal days without understanding the ancient Hebrew. Now, before Ken gets there, I'm going to point out that in ancient Hebrew, whenever yom was used with a literal, that is, with a number, it only means a literal day. I'm pretty sure he's going to get there sometime, but, this is Ken we're talking about. I'm sure that was his entire point after all. All Ken cares about is, my book says a thing, which is entirely irrelevant. If the evidence from the natural world doesn't match up with your stupid book, then your book is wrong. And he won't have any way whatsoever to justify that, so don't expect him to do anything intelligent. So anyway, go ahead, Ken, say what I already did, and maybe get on to something worthwhile.
It can, but it can also mean an ordinary day, and that's the point. And so what we need to look at is context.
No, we don't. I can't believe he missed that, but okay, whatever. Ken just isn't that smart. You have to remember that this is only being aimed at people who already believe everything in the Bible is true to begin with. Why would you say that you cannot deny yada 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 to people who aren't denying it to begin with? This is just pure confirmation bias, which is just one more reason that I don't go after Ken all that often. He is not reasonable, he's not rational, and he's certainly not at all concerned with reality. Then again, what apologist is?
When does yom mean an ordinary day? Now, if you look up Hebrew dictionaries, lexicons like Brown Driver Briggs or Kohler Baumgartner, the example they give of yom being a literal day is Genesis 1:5, the first day of creation, and also the other days of creation.
Hebrew doesn't exist to justify your book, dipshit. Hebrew is a language entirely separate from your beliefs. I don't care about the examples given. I care that you understand why it's true, and apparently Ken doesn't. This is why I can argue successfully against day-age believers, because the Bible is very clear that it had to be literal days. Their only potential saving grace is that it didn't say how long it was between each of the days. There could have been millions of years between the first day and the second day, yada yada yada, because it doesn't specifically say that the days were sequential. It could be 6 days picked for some significance. It could be 6 days right next to each other. We just don't know, and it honestly doesn't matter because fuck the Bible anyway. Of course, the much better interpretation is that the Bible is just bullshit and Genesis is just a myth, but people like Ken refuse to acknowledge that or even consider it as a possibility, right? So, go ahead, just keep going, doing your stuff, Ken. You're only preaching to the choir who doesn't know any better anyhow. Then again, it doesn't seem like you know very much either.
Here's the point. Whenever the Hebrew word for day, the word yom, is used with evening, morning, number, or night, when it's qualified that way, it means an ordinary day.
Well, finally, he got there. Maybe it took that long because the gears in his head don't work very well anymore. Not that I think they ever really did. So yes, he gets it. It still doesn't matter. My book says a thing, means nothing and will convince no one who doesn't already believe it for wholly emotional, wholly irrational reasons. So I'm still wondering why he's making this video and who it is that he's making it for, because skeptics and atheists are just going to roll their eyes, and the people who already believe it, they shouldn't need a video to convince them that what they believe is already true. Who is he trying to talk into this? I honestly don't get it. Stop preaching to the choir. You're just making yourself look stupid. But,
Now, if you look at Genesis 1, for the first day, it's qualified by evening, by morning, by number, and by the word night. Now, if it was just qualified by evening with day, that would mean an ordinary day, or morning with day, or number with day, or night with day, but it's got all of them.
So what? You still haven't demonstrated that it ever happened in the first place. This is why people like Ken are just so embarrassing. I mean, I get theists sending me these stupid videos all the time, as if they're going to impress me, just because they impress the already delusional. But they don't impress me at all. As Allison would say, they assume vast facts not in evidence. Just because you really want it to be true, that doesn't make it true. And you're not going to impress us until you can demonstrate that it is true, entirely absent your silly faith. But they're not even trying to do that, are they? Why? Because they can't. Because they don't care. This is why every time a theist shows up on the channel and says, "Watch this video," I just laugh. I've seen the videos, or ones very similar. They are downright stupid. They are never going to impress me because that's not what they're trying to do. They're just trying to keep the already faithful in the pews so they keep making money. Do you honestly not understand that? Apparently not.
There, it's almost as if God is emphatic by saying, I want to tell you over and over again, this is an ordinary day. In fact, for the first day, it doesn't really say first day, it says one day.
Who cares? Because you're still going on and on and on about your stupid book that you haven't validated as actually true yet. And you're not even trying to do that. When do you think you're going to get around to it? Oh, right, never, because they just don't care. They don't understand that they should care. They don't understand that everyone laughs at them because they don't care. That's the whole problem. So when we get a Ken Ham or a Mike Winger or, well, any of them really, they aren't talking to us because they know that they'd lose. They know there's no money in it for them first off, and that's what they're really after, but they know they can't justify things to our satisfaction at all, and we just laugh at them. They know that they fail because they have no justification for the things they believe. I guess they just like being jokes. What else is new?
In other words, it's defining the word day. And so there was evening and there was morning one day. And then for the others, as you read through Genesis 1, it says second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day. You've got evening and morning. You've got a number qualifying each of the days. So that means they're ordinary days.
And it doesn't matter what the hell your book says. We are never going to care about your book until you can demonstrate to our satisfaction that your book is factually correct in some justifiable way that doesn't rely on faith and fee-fees. Now, I've actually deleted a fair number of videos out of my queue recently, and at the moment there are 1,306 videos in there, just so you know. Now, obviously, most of those are never going to get done because I typically add maybe 3 to 4 new ones every single day, but there are quite a few of them that are nothing more than, my book says a thing, and they expect skeptics to take that seriously, and I've really kind of run out of things to say to that, as you can tell. Christians would never accept it if Muslims said, my book says a thing, and Muslims would never accept it if Hindus were saying, my book says a thing, and I don't buy into any of it at all. I don't care what your book says until you can justify it to my satisfaction with demonstrable evidence, and you simply can't. You're not even trying. So if you think my book says a thing matters, you are just wrong. Stop pretending that you're going to convince anybody but the terminally gullible and stupid with that, because it's not going to happen.
Let's jump over to Exodus chapter 20, verse 11. The basis of the fourth commandment says in 6 days God made everything, rested on the seventh. That's the basis for our 7-day week.
Yes, that story in your book of mythology is the basis of the modern week. So what? That doesn't make any of it true. And that's really the problem, because this entire video is just Ken Ham saying, my book says a thing, as if that means anything to anyone who doesn't already believe the Bible. I mean, his thumbnail for the video says something like, this is gonna blow your mind. What will? He has other videos that I see go by that say, well, explain this, atheist. In fact, in the sidebar right now, there is a video that says exactly that. I'm just reading it off my screen. This is incredibly common among the religious, and they can't figure out just how dumb it makes them look. Well, my book says, we don't care about your book, but my book says. So what? How do you think you're going to convince us without having anything that's going to convince us? We're not being unrealistic here. We're not being unreasonable. We just don't believe that your book has anything valid in it. You need to back that up. You have to either validate your book in such a way that we do believe it, or you've got to go find something else. And they can't do either. It's no wonder they fail so often.
So the 7-day week is based upon the 7 days of Genesis 1, the 6-day work, and then the 1-day rest. That's where the 7-day week comes from. So it's obviously based on literal days.
It's based on a farcical story in a book of mythology. Whether the ancient Hebrews intended their story to be literal days or not, it doesn't mean that any of it ever happened at all. This is mythology, and Ken isn't bright enough to figure it out. He just really wants it to be true. And here, he's play acting at challenging atheists, and we're just laughing because all he can do is just assume that he's right and assert that we're going to assume that he's right too. But that's not how any of this works. We're just going to think he's a buffoon. Mostly because he is.
Now, some people will bring up that in Genesis 2:4, in the day that the Lord created, that you don't take that as an ordinary day. But the word day there, the Hebrew word yom, is not qualified with evening or morning or number or night, and there it means time, in the time that God created.
And we still don't care about your book. Remember, this video claims that we cannot deny the 6-day creation after we realize something, and the only thing he's got is, well, my book says a thing. Who cares? I can read to you out of the Gospel of Harry Potter, and it doesn't mean anything. You'd laugh, and you should. You just can't figure out that we're just as justified in laughing at you as you would if we tried the same thing out of Harry Potter. These people are just not self-aware of their own stupidity. They're idiots, and one of the chief idiots is sitting right there on screen.
Just like in the day of the Lord and the time of the judges, the word day there just means time. You know, the English word day can have different meanings. We could say back in my father's day, meaning time. We could say during the day, the daylight portion of a day, or we could say something took 6 days. You mean 6 24-hour days.
I'm still waiting for him to get to anything that's going to cause us to accept a 6-day creation or any creation at all. My book says a thing just isn't going to do it. You'll notice there are a lot of theists who pull this though, right? Well, my book says it, so you must believe that it's true. My book says that you believe, so you believe. Yeah, but I don't care about your book. But my book says you care. Yeah, fuck you and fuck your book. We don't care. Yes, you do. Okay, fine. I'm going to write this down, so give me a second. Hold on. I just wrote down, you are a complete idiot. There you go. I guess that just makes it true. Or how about this? You owe me the complete contents of your bank account right now, so you'd better pay up. This whole thing is just stupid. Why can't they figure it out?
Well, the Hebrew word for day has a range of meanings like that, and it's context that always determines the meaning. And the contextual usage of the word day in Genesis 1 is that each of those days were ordinary days, 24-hour days. We must start from the text first and let it speak to us. It's God's word.
We don't believe you. We don't think it's anything but mythology. What the fuck is wrong with you, Ken? Of course, this is the guy who said in his debate, which was a piss poor debate on his part with Bill Nye, that there was absolutely nothing that could ever change his mind on God. This guy is a fanatic. He doesn't care about the truth. He just believes what he wants to believe. He couldn't care less if any of it is actually true. He's just looking to get his pathetic fifis coddled, and as such, he spends all of his time making a complete fool of himself. And you could say the exact same thing for pretty much any apologist, and in fact, I have. These people are real idiots. Just repeating all the crap you believe for really terrible reasons, that doesn't make any of it true. And it doesn't convince anyone that you're not out of your ever-loving mind. You are. Seek help.
If we do that, God created in 6 literal days. You can come to no other conclusion if you're using the text and the rules of the Hebrew language.
And if you're following the text of the Harry Potter books, magic is real, and there's a school out there called Hogwarts. Are you really this fucking stupid? Don't bother to answer because we already know. This is where I have to ask who it is he's trying to convince, because it certainly isn't the skeptics, and there's really no reason for him to convince the already faithful. It certainly isn't atheists, because we wouldn't care. We'd laugh at all of his bullshit. The only reason he would do this is to convince the people to believe it who already believe it. And why in the hell would you do that? Because they already believe. This is just Ken playing a part, and he's hardly alone. He's pretending that he has something to convince the non-believers, but he knows, he has to know, that if he actually presented any of this to the non-believers, they'd just laugh in his face. Nothing he's saying is convincing to anybody with a brain. And that's why he turns off his ratings, because he knows he'd get downvoted into oblivion. I'm sure he's deleting comments from skeptics too, who are saying pretty much what I am, because he knows it all just makes him look bad to his followers. You know, the people who are paying him. This guy is a crook. He's also an imbecile, and it's not just him. They're all that way. Sad, huh? After that, he just tries to sell his books, so we're skipping over that. This is one of the worst examples of religious stupidity that I've run into for a while, and that's kind of saying something, isn't it? How can you be this stupid? Well, you already agree with me, so you already agree with me, so there. But I don't agree with you. Yes, you do. I mean, what do you say to that other than just laughing in their face? This is someone not living in reality. But how many of them are? How many of them have anything worthwhile to say? If you have a short list, let me know in the comments, because I don't know that I've ever really seen one. They expect everyone to accept at least the basis of their faith, and when we don't, they insist we do anyway. They expect people to buy into the Bible, hook, line, and sinker, and people who are denying a 6-day creation, generally we're not going to. We don't believe the Bible is the word of a God, because we don't believe in any gods. We sure the hell don't believe you, at least not without a whole bunch of corroboratory evidence, and you're so far out of the rational loop that you think everybody on the planet is on your side. And increasingly, that is not true. You are just wrong. I don't even know how to express just how pathetic this is. Maybe there's a reason I just don't do a lot of Ken Ham, although mostly, let's be honest, they're all pretty much the same. Assume you're right, assume everyone else is wrong, assert that everyone else really agrees with you, they just want to sin, proclaim victory, bullshit like that. But it just doesn't work that way. So let me know in the comments what you think of all this, and let me know if you want to see any more Ken Ham. If you ask me right now, my answer would probably be no, unless I find something really spectacular. But at the moment, if this is the level of stupidity we're going to get from Ken, yeah, let's not do that. Although I don't really know who else is better, because I don't really think anybody is.